Milwaukee goes by many names: the City of Festivals, the Cream City, the beer capital of the world. Although not everyone sees the city this positively, Milwaukee is a hidden gem, but it's not without its problems. Nestled on Lake Michigan and less than 100 miles from Chicago, Milwaukee has a lot to offer.
Living in Milwaukee is much more affordable than living in most major cities in the US. Although there is plenty of room for improvement, housing and food costs are reasonable. Many neighborhoods have access to grocery stores that are easily accessible on foot, by bike, or by transit, although this is far from universal.
Speaking of food options, Milwaukee's dining culture is uniquely diverse. Food and drink districts throughout the city are certain to keep a foodie happy, and our beer selection is fantastic as well. Milwaukee is known as the Brew City because of our rich history of major breweries, including the Miller Brewery, which is still in operation on its original site to this day. The city is home to other important and memorable brands as well. Harley-Davidson has deep historic roots in the city and just refurbished a local park. Milwaukee Tool just opened a new downtown office, despite historically being located in Brookfield. And Northwestern Mutual built a brand new building and is planning to refurbish another.
One of Milwaukee's biggest strengths is the variety of gathering places in each neighborhood. Known as third places, these neighborhood bars, coffee shops, parks, and churches are a point of pride in Milwaukee. The park system is special as well, with 91% of residents within a 10-minute walk to a park. This makes the city feel well-connected and a more pleasant place to live. Contrast this with a city like Los Angeles, where neighborhood parks are rare, and getting to most third places requires getting in a car and fighting traffic.
If you get down to its core, the city of Milwaukee has fantastic bones. The city was built around the streetcar. It has a rich history of vibrant neighborhoods along corridors going out in all directions like rays of the sun. The grid system remains today, and many of those corridors continue to have tons of amenities and frequent transit service.
It's hard to replicate vibrant corridors like this, and modern attempts to create places like these are nice, but they fall short in many ways. Despite all that we have going for us here, anyone who's in the city knows there are many issues we have to reckon with.
Lately, the biggest talking point in Milwaukee has been street safety. Milwaukee's home to the OG Kia Boys, as well as a dangerous maneuver known as the Milwaukee Slide. Mayor Cavalier Johnson declared reckless driving a public safety crisis in the city as his first official act as mayor in 2021. Knowing that this crisis disproportionately affects Black communities further underscores the urgency with which we must address the epidemic we have on our hands.
Of course, this isn't the primary critique of the city. Milwaukee's infamous to outsiders for being crime-ridden and dangerous in every corner.
And now to this Fox 6 exclusive.
Social media shows a group of teenagers attacking the men.
Horrifying scene on Milwaukee's north side over the weekend.
The New 6, look at this video.
A Milwaukee family grieving tonight.
Brazen burglary attempt and the gunfire.
What you're about to see was recorded on a neighbor's surveillance camera.
The bloody attack on a pair of elderly men.
What is it like for the officers on the streets?
Third man has minor injuries.
They're focused on accountability.
After a hit and run.
Surveillance video that shows what police and many Milwaukeeans are up against.
While the issue is often overblown by those on the outside, crime's a problem here, like it is in every major city. This is all tied directly and inexorably to poverty, which also has a large presence in Milwaukee, leading to homelessness and more crime, all of which disproportionately affects Black and brown communities across the city. Without a doubt, the most important criticism of Milwaukee is the inequity.
This is exemplified by the fact that all of the great things about our city that we talked about earlier are not evenly distributed across the city. Your experience living in Milwaukee is going to be different depending on the neighborhood you are from.
Majority Black neighborhoods have 41% less park space than the city median, while majority white neighborhoods have 81% more. Food deserts across the city disproportionately appear in Black and impoverished neighborhoods. Black neighborhoods see much higher rates of eviction than white neighborhoods in Milwaukee. The list goes on and on and on, from lead poisoning to rates of asthma and obesity to foreclosure rates.
The source of a lot of this strife can be traced back to racist redlining practices for most of the 20th century in highway construction in the 50s and 60s. This has led to Milwaukee being one of the most racially segregated cities in the country. The Civil Rights Act may have prohibited directly and explicitly making non-white people's lives worse, but the legacy of decades of these practices continues to this day, and Black Milwaukeeans continue to suffer the consequences. During the Civil Rights era, wealthier residents of cities like Milwaukee fled urban areas and moved to less dense, less financially stable suburban developments on the outskirts of the city. In the 80s and 90s, as a large number of industrial jobs left urban areas across the country, and specifically in Rust Belt cities like Milwaukee, jobs dried up and wages stagnated.
Local government officials found themselves facing a massive deficit as tax revenue evaporated, making it harder to maintain and support basic city services through that time. The city and the county are still stumbling through budgetary issues year after year as we try to get back on our feet. Both the city and county just announced that they anticipate budget cuts in the next year, despite increased sales tax and state funding.
All of this sounds and is bad, but the first step to fixing something is to accept that it can be changed. We need to take an evidence-based approach to each of these problems, individually addressing each one with the fighting spirit Milwaukee is known for.
The hardest fix is going to be dealing with the effects of the historic redlining. We can reinvest in communities, but we run the risk of gentrifying neighborhoods and pushing out the people who make that neighborhood a community. Groups like Habitat for Humanity are building new homes for people who may not have been able to afford buying a new house in many of these neighborhoods. This enables residents to literally invest in their communities and set down roots, strengthening ties and increasing their care for their place.
To improve the safety of our streets, we need to encourage better behavior through better infrastructure. We need to expand safe walking and cycling infrastructure to better separate and protect vulnerable road users across the city, and expand and better maintain our public transportation system to encourage less driving. By offering a wider variety of transportation options, the city can become less reliant on expensive car infrastructure and more financially resilient.
It has long been understood that vibrant, dense neighborhoods like the ones Milwaukee was built upon are more financially sustainable for the city and its residents. We should encourage more dense development on a small scale to increase property tax revenue and create a path to financial security. One way to do this is by changing our zoning laws to encourage and allow more multifamily housing through the city, which is actually what the city's Grow MKE plan proposes. By improving land use throughout the city, Milwaukee will have a more stable tax base and more hopeful financial outlook. Each of these solutions costs money to implement, and unfortunately, we're in the midst of another budgetary crisis. It's crucial that our elected officials spend wisely what little they have to work with to invest in the future through small bets that are proven to pay off in the long run. By making the next smallest change to make the city more financially solvent and more equitable for everyone, we can amplify the strengths of the city and solve the problems we face.
The best way to accomplish change is through engaging locally by attending meetings in the community and talking to our representatives at the city and county. These are the people who will be most able to affect change in our city. And when we tell them that we want solutions to these problems, they become empowered to make smart policy decisions that move the city forward. By engaging with our local elected officials, we can elevate local government as the most important force for change in our communities.
The best way to get involved and make the city a better place for everyone is to join forces with an organization that's already moving forward on these goals, such as the Strong Towns Local Conversation here in Milwaukee. Strong Towns is a nonprofit organization active across North America, working to emphasize financial resiliency through better options for transportation and more sustainable land use, by elevating the processes of local government and advocating for the next smallest change. Whatever next achievable goal will make our community stronger. When you look to help your community and fix some of these problems directly, consider attending your neighborhood organization's meetings. Check out the Milwaukee Neighborhood Association page in the description to see how you can get involved. Another way to make Milwaukee better for everyone is joining your Strong Towns Local Conversation in Milwaukee. They're working to make the city better by building benches for bus stops and advocating for all of the changes we mentioned.
If you want your city to be livable, if you want to travel through your city safely and with dignity, and if you want a stronger community, remember this: decisions are made by those who show up. So show up.